Hello, my name is Jan. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a sound controller, a slider which will allow you to control how loud or how low the soundtrack on your video game is. Anyway, to get started, what we need to do, the first thing we need to do is create a new folder on the Assets section. I'm going to select Create Folder. I'm just going to call it MySounds. I'm going to double click on this folder. I'm going to right click now. I'm going to select Import New Asset. I'm just going to import my sound. The next thing we need to do is go to the Hierarchies panel, and I'm just going to create an audio source. So let's give some time a little bit until your sound is added. Okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to right click, select Audio, and then select Audio Source. Okay, I've added my audio source now. The next thing I need to do is right click here and add UI, go to UI and select slider. Okay, the next thing I need to do, I'm going to click on my canvas. I'm going to go to the inspectors panel on the third component here, canvas scale. I'm going to drop down the list and select scale with screen size. Then I'm going to double check to make sure that I know my screen size. So in this case it's 16 by 900. I'm going to go here now and change the values to 1600 by 900. Okay. The next thing I need to do is select my slider, and I'm going to go to the inspectors panel here and make sure that the volume by default is to maximum. And the next thing we need to do here on the minimum volume, I'm just going to put 0.0001. Otherwise, based on the script I'm going to give you, that it won't work. It will break. People will not be able to hear this volume anyway. Anyway, the next thing we need to do is go here on the slider. Go here on the audio source. And I'm just going to click and drag for the audio source, for the audio clip, my soundtrack. Okay. The next thing we need to do is go to the Windows menu, select Audio, and then select AudioMixer. So let's put the AudioMixer panel here. I'm just going to click and drag it here. It doesn't have to be that wide. I'm just going to leave it there. The next thing we need to do is add an audio mixer. So click on the plus icon. I'm just going to call it this MySounds. Press the Enter key on your keyboard. Now, if we go here to the master, I'm going to right click here on the volume. I'm just going to select Expose Volume. Then, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my audio source. And for the output, I'm just going to click here and add the master. Exit this window. Okay. The next thing we need to do is go to the slider, and I'm just going to add a script on my slider. So I'm going to click Add Component. It's going to be a script component, new script. I'm just going to call it MySounds. The next thing we need to do before we start scripting, we need to go to the audio mixer, click on the exposed parameters, and I'm just going to rename this. I'm going to right click and select rename. And I'm going to call this, let's call it my music volume. So MyMusicVol, I'm just going to call it. Press the Enter key on your keyboard. It doesn't really matter what you're going to call it, as long as you remember what you call it, and make sure you use the uppercase and lowercase is case sensitive. So make sure you remember this, because we are going to call this throughout our code. Okay, now we can go to our code. So double click on my sound script to open it. Okay, for this script, we don't really need the void update and the void start, so you can actually lose this. So press the Enter key a few times so you have a bit of gap. Now we also need to include another library. So we're going to say using UnityEngine.Audio. And semicolon to your statement. And here we need to create a variable. So we're gonna make a public variable. So we'll say public audio mixer, and I'm just gonna call this mymixer. Semicolon to your statement. Now we are going to create a new function. So we're gonna say public void and set. Oops. Let's put space. SetLevel. And then within parentheses, I'm going to say float my slidervol. And then within curly brackets, I'm just going to put my parameter here. So I'm going to say that mymixer dot set float, and then in double quotes, I'm just going to call my sound. Let's go back here. I'm going to call this parameter here. So MyMusicVol. So I'm going to type here my capital M, music capital M, vol capital V. And then after this, after the double quote, I'm going to say comma mathf.log 10. And then within parentheses, I'm just going to call this myslidervol. And then I'm going to multiply this by 20. And semicolon to end my statement. Okay, so that's the only script you need here. So we create the variable, and basically based on the variable we hold in this data. And it's going to be keep checking this. This function will be executed every time you actually working. Somebody clicks and drag the volume controller, the slider. So let's save this. Let's exit this. Let's minimize it. Let's go back to Unity. What we need to do now here is let's select a slider and let's add our mixer here, MySounds. We are going to click on the plus icon here. We're going to add a new runtime list. We're going to click and drag the script. Now my script is called MySounds, so when I drop down the list here, I can see my sound script here. And I need to select this option here, says set value. Okay. Now let's the slider. Let's put the slider to the top. So I'm just going to select the slider. I'm going to go to the inspectors panel. I'm going to click here on the anchor. I'm going to hold the shift and the alt key on my keyboard and select this option here. So I've got my slider to the top. Now you can hold the shift and the alt key down, and you can put it at the bottom as it was before. It's up to you. You can put it to the left, you can put it to the right. Okay, once you select it where you want the slider to be, then you can release the shift and the alt key on the keyboard. Now I'm going to press the play button. And now you will be able to see that you can actually control the sound. Okay, nice and smoothly. So this is how you add in a slider to control the soundtrack of your video game. Hope you've learned something new today. I hope you will apply these new skills onto your video game. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.